Hi, I'm here today with Jeff Hasenfratz, co-editor and chapter author of a new book, which provides fresh insights into the evolving field of leadership coaching in China. Hi, Jeff. Good to have you here.
Good to be here, Marjorie. Thanks so much for inviting me.
Sure. And then what inspired you to write a chapter for the book, Leadership Coaching in China?
Well, I had the pleasure of meeting your life partner, Bill, several years ago. And as you know, he's a very charming fellow. And when he asked me to be a part of this project, I couldn't turn it down. I was quite intrigued. A book on leadership coaching in China. How cool is that? As you know, I've been working in the leadership coaching field in China for the last 20 years. And I thought I might have something interesting for readers to think about in terms of how coaching has evolved and how it might evolve in the future.
Indeed, indeed. Now, the chapter which you and your co-author, Andrew Newmark, wrote is entitled The Life Cycle of a Typical One-on-One Coaching Engagement. Now, as an expat yourself, in your experience, how do coaching engagements in China differ from those in Western countries?
Yeah, it's an interesting thing, really. What I found in talking to my colleagues in other countries, especially Western countries, is that in my experience here in China, is that I need to spend a bit more time up front building my credibility. So as you know, I mean, people look at me, you look at me, and I'm not Chinese. And so people are probably thinking, what does this guy know about China, about me, much less about my leadership challenges. So I spend more time up front than some of my colleagues elsewhere would do in building that credibility. So as you know, I speak Chinese, so I do that with the person. I tell the person that I'm married to a Chinese woman. We have 3 daughters. And I may have mentioned to you privately that about 70% of my coachees these days are senior Chinese women leaders. So if I have daughters, that adds to my credibility, and I do. So before I ever talk about my coaching background, so that's one thing, credibility. The other area of difference, I think, from some of our colleagues in Western countries in terms of coaching is Confucianism. So as we know, in China, Confucianism goes back, about 2,000 years or something, and there's a certain element to it, which is hierarchy and giving respect to people, more senior. So what happens again and again, I've seen with some of my coachees, my Chinese coachees, is that they're invited to a meeting. They don't know necessarily that they've been invited because they're being observed by more senior people in other parts of the organization because they're being considered for promotion, but they don't necessarily know that. And so they give respect to the people in the room and they don't say very much. They're pretty quiet, which really hurt their career chances. So this is one major thing. I call it Confucianism bites hard.
Yeah, indeed, that is so true. And that is very important for women leaders as well as men in China with that cultural influence. And the other thing I want to mention, Jeff, you are the perfect example of a Chinese son-in-law.
well, thank you. Your tone of voice and your smile indicates that that's a good thing. I had not heard that phrase. So thank you for telling me about that.
Yes, indeed. Yeah. And then I also noticed that you and Andrew took a rather lighthearted approach in the way that you wrote your chapter, teasing each other from time to time. So why did you decide to write in that way?
Yeah, thank you for asking. So, Andrew and I were trying to figure this out. How do we make this a seamless thing? And neither of us had written as co-authors before. And so we approached the publisher, and the publisher was very, humorous about the whole thing. He said, "Oh, just do whatever feels natural, do whatever makes sense to you." Well, okay, fine. So we talked about it. And since this topic, it's the process of coaching, the process of an engagement, it can be a bit dry as a process to talk with people about it. And we didn't want our readers to fall asleep halfway through our chapter. So we decided to have a bit of fun with it, and it seemed to come out okay.
True. And it is delightful reading your chapter. And thank you, Jeff. And also want to thank our viewers that please look for our upcoming interviews for other co-authors of leadership coaching in China as they share their unique insights going forward. And this book is available on Amazon, both in print and in Kindle. And check it out. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you. Bye.
Bye
Thanks,
for now.
Marjorie.